Okay, so now the very last part in terms of the anatomy or the real anatomy is, again, with the advice, or comes with the advice, don't draw it. Don't worry about it. Design it instead. So what I try to use for this area would be, I like to think of the neck as 7 triangles. And once you get comfortable with these, if you find yourself getting comfortable with these, then you can make a more elaborate description and study of the muscles of the neck within. But this would be a larger formula to help you orient what you're seeing and what's there. So, we can kind of look at this as something to find as a way to depart from. So let's think of it in those terms. But what I want to do here in terms of my column, so let's just go back to the column. That's the shape that we started with. And then we tied it to, the shoulder. So this would be the shoulder tilt. So that was this here. And then this little circle is the pit of the neck. I also asked you to kind of be at the end, cognizant of the symmetry lines. So that way we know where things are rotating. So here's how I'll find my neck designs inside of that. Make an M. So draw an M and use that symmetry line as a point of reference. Done. Right? So what that gives me is 1, 2, 3 triangles. Depending on how you want to design a shoulder or a trap, create a triangle off the side. Right, so if I make it higher, it'll be like more masculine, more bulky. Lower, be more feminine. So those arrows are just kind of asking that you think about its height or placement on the column. 4, 5. And then underneath, right, so this would be in the middle of the clavicle. I'm going to do 6 and 7. These are the triangles of the neck that I look for to try to show the big designs that the muscles would make. So just to give you some, let's do it on this side, just a little bit of context. I don't think you should do more than this, but just in case you think I'm insane, here's what I'm looking at to get here. This M, so think of M as mastoid. So that's the sternomastoid. The sternomastoid comes from behind the ear, wraps around the neck, and makes a diagonal to get to your sternum. So it creates or makes this big design that wraps this way. What it leaves that creates the second triangle is a flange that connects onto the first third of the clavicle. So I'm taking this to mean sternomastoid, this to be the accompanying flange. So this could fill in. Now, you could break this down and break it down and find more and more triangles, right? For example, when the sternomastoid separates from the flange, it creates another triangle, another little area of absence. What I like about this whole triangle that's pushing down is I think of all of this as the throat. So this could be muscle under the jaw, so the area that's number 1. It could be the windpipe, it could be the hyoid bone, sternal area. It's just a big kind of generic area for all of that. 4 is again the trap, so we can make that like a door wedge or some kind of triangle shape. And that creates, when it pulls around, another triangle inside of it, right? That would mimic or mirror the one that's underneath down there. So this is all your trapezius, but it folds over here so it leaves that little gap. And then what this is called your intraclavicular fossa. It's just this space in between your shoulder and chest on the front. So 7 triangles. Total, if you feel like the 7 are maybe a little bit too reductive, then start exploring some of those triangles inside. But I'll put them up here. So these are my designs. That's how I look at the neck. You don't have to do more than that. In fact, it might be better to start with just that. So if we do it, let's start and try them on some of the ones that we work through here. So here's my shape. I see in this one, so I'm gonna do it off to the side to show you the little mock-up. So remember I have my triangle, my column. Now, first thing I'm gonna do is where's the symmetry line? Well, I already found that. That's closer to one side. So what that tells me is that my form is turning, but it automatically makes the M shift. So now I have that M starting to also point in the same way. All right, so we'll do the same thing because hopefully you can see this line and that line, and then the little flange is that part. So I'm going here to here, this way. Really, the vertical in the M is already established with the width of the column. And then because this is turning away, I'm going to make my triangle for the trap shorter, and then on this side, larger. And then let's color them in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would be that area of tone down here. 6 gets a little lighter on this side. And then 7 is the trap. And so now if you're thinking, well, geez, you just colored in a design on top of what you've already made. The idea is that that sets me up now for what would be the next step. So if you wanted to take this and give it more resolution, right, now you're ready to start building on top some of those more complicated muscle shapes. Because what I've done with my M and my triangles is to give myself a framework to build the neck over. So look, I'll just add some of those forms or build volume, right? The sternomastoid is its own cylinder. And that would be something to maybe think about at a different stage. Or on this trap, maybe we could try to find that triangle that's inside of it that mirrors the fossa under. So that has a nice kind of connected look or quality. But it's never this part that I find that people struggle with. People always seem to have a pretty good sense of or interest in drawing the muscles as bulging forms. I've never met a student that didn't want to do that in some capacity or was already doing it. What I find that people struggle with is getting an underlying volume from the neck, putting it and placing it in a way that makes a transition from head into rib cage, and then giving that transition some kind of behavior like tilt, gesture, right? Those kinds of qualities. But see, it can quickly kind of pop into something that has a bit more form. Right? This is what I think I'd love to advocate for people to help get a sense of, what the difficult aspects of composing with the neck might be. So if we were to map it one more time on this, let's start by also including our shoulder. I already have my symmetry lines. I can kind of see my M, so that comes down. Here's the fossa, so that's ending here. So I wasn't able to use the width of the neck to create that in this one, so that had to move in. It's really turned away. Let's see my diagonal for the M. Here's my vertical. Trap comes back here. And then here. All right, so there's my basic template or framework for the shoulder and the neck. And then I could put my underlying form or triangle for the fossa here, and then one there, and then I'm ready to go. So that would be my 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can get that and then link it to the steps that we described below. Shape, gesture, and perspective. I think your necks will look as though they have anatomy without all of the labor of putting every single muscle in. So hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did and you'd like to learn more, you can check out my website and links below. I have online classes that I hold that I'm teaching that you can get one-on-one feedback and hear lessons like this in long form with question and answer as well.